We are learning things from the moment we are born. Now, when we're that young, and actually for most of our childhood, we're not conscious of all the things that we are learning. Our brain is constantly trying to take in and understand and make sense of the world around us so that it knows what to think, what to do, how to act, how to interact, how to make sense of it all. And like I said, we're not conscious that this is happening, but it is constantly happening. Our brain is trying to figure out how to understand ourselves, others, life, and the world. And so we're having all of this unconscious process going on when we are children in our formative years. That's why they're called our formative years, because we are forming how to think about ourselves, others, life, and the world. And then we become adults who have these ideas, who have these beliefs, who have these perspectives. And a lot of the time, we don't realize that these are learned beliefs. For better or worse, they are things that we learned. And now we bring those things into adulthood. And sometimes those things that we learned that we think are just the way things are, the way that we are, and we bring those into our adulthood and it cause all kinds of unnecessary struggle, unnecessary pain, and keep us stuck and keep us often feeling pretty crappy about ourselves. And so today I want to talk about 7 big things that you may have learned. I'm guessing that you may have learned at least a couple of these ones. And then we're going to challenge those ones, and I'm going to offer you another way to see things that is probably going to be a lot more helpful and also help you to start to get unstuck. If you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below, whether or not you are new or back again. Love being able to connect with you all down there. If you haven't already, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. The button's about right down there. And either way, my name is Kristina. I'm a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my membership community, the Shift Society. It is full of incredible men and women who are doing this deeper work. At the time of this video, when this video comes out, we are opening registration for the Shift Society tomorrow. So if you're not already, get on the wait list. The wait list is in the description below. And when we do open registration, we're opening to the wait list first. So make sure that you do get on there. I help heart center go-getter men and women break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And these things that we learn that we don't know are just made up stuff. And maybe some of us do. Maybe some of you are aware that you have these thoughts and beliefs and you don't really know what to do about them. You know that they're not healthy. You know that they're not helpful. You know that there could be other ways of understanding yourself, of understanding life, of understanding other people. You could have different thoughts and perspectives that would be more helpful for you, but you just don't know how to change them. So hopefully we'll get some of that work done here today. And the first thing that you may have learned that's keeping you stuck now is you got to keep yourself small to keep other people comfortable. And the truth is that people who are socialized as women tend to struggle with this one more because women are typically socialized to play small, to keep ourselves slight, to make people comfortable, to be accommodating, to be pleasing, to be palatable. And I'm not saying that men are not ever socialized in those same ways, but it just typically tends to be sort of our cultural agreement that this is the role that women need to play. So it can make us women feel really uncomfortable around really fully believing in ourselves, letting ourselves take up space, letting ourselves be seen, letting ourselves feel good about ourselves, be proud of ourselves. Not about lording ourselves over other people and saying I'm better than anyone else, but holding our own ground and being able to say, this is me. And I am so proud of me and I am so good with me. And I'm not here to overshadow you, but I'm also not here to make myself small for you. So in any area of your life, and any of you may have experienced this in different areas of your lives. If it's about growing in your career, having other people talk badly about you or judge you, and then that kind of keeps you from wanting to move forward, from wanting to grow, from wanting to expand, from wanting to rise up. If it's about building something, building a business, And other people around you start judging you and start saying, oh, she's getting too big for her britches. Look at her stepping out and doing her own thing. Look at her taking something on and going against the norm. If it's about your own healing and growth process, and I've talked about this before with boundaries, when you start setting boundaries, there are definitely going to be people around you who have thoughts and feelings about that, about why they don't want you to do that. And they're going to try to pull you back into the functionally dysfunctional system that requires you to not have boundaries. If it's about just even your own general healing and growth and becoming more of yourself and showing up as more of yourself, there's going to be people around you who may find that difficult, who might rub up against their own stuff. And so comments might come out, behaviors might come out. And so you might be tempted to hold yourself back to make other people comfortable. So what I want to say to that is to find people who get it. No matter where you're at, no matter what you're building or how you're growing, find other people who get it, who can support you, who are going to be there for you, because you will outgrow other people in your life. And it doesn't mean that you have to cut those people off and say, if you're not going to be 100% on my side about everything I do all the time, then you're out. Absolutely not. But making sure that you find those people who are able to rally around you, who are able to be there for you, and let the people who aren't, let them have their thoughts, let them have their perspective, let them be in their own process, but that's not your job to fix it. And it's not your job to make them comfortable around you. It's not your job to make yourself small so that other people can be comfortable. Find people who get it. Find people who support it. Find people who are willing to celebrate with you. And this is such a big part of what we do in the Shift Society, why the community that comes with the membership is so powerful, because this is absolutely what happens to people. Is they start to learn, they start to grow, they start to outgrow, and they start to feel that little bit of loneliness, to be honest with you, until you find your people, until you find those connections. And how powerful that is, that encouragement to keep going and keep growing, because we didn't arrive on this planet to stay hidden, to stay in the shadows. That's not why we're here. Now, that's not to say that if you want to play a supporting role in your life, if you want to be a little bit more behind the scenes, that there's anything wrong with that. But the point is that it is your choice, that you are doing what you want to do, that makes sense for you, and that you're not letting other people's thoughts and feelings make your decisions for your life for you. The next thing that you may have learned that may be keeping you stuck is that your happiness is dependent on others. I'm not saying that other human beings don't contribute to our sense of well-being, absolutely. But as soon as we are outsourcing our happiness to other people, it becomes risky business, because other people are nowhere near as invested in our happiness as they are their own. And the other truth is that other people don't make us happy. Because you know what makes us happy? And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what I'm going to say. What makes us happy, what creates all of our feelings, is our thoughts, what we are thinking, our perceptions, our perspectives, our interpretations. That is what makes us happy. So yeah, absolutely. People can be doing things that we have thoughts about, that we like, and then that brings us good feelings. But to also not outsource that, and to say that other people, everyone else has to be a certain way so that I can be okay, because then it becomes all about trying to control other people so that I can manage myself, instead of cutting out the middleman and really working on managing yourself. Which ties in really nicely to the next thing that you may have learned, which is that other people's happiness is dependent on you. That it's your job to make other people happy. That someone else's happiness is your responsibility. And I don't care if it's your parents or your partner or your colleagues or your friends or your boss. Other people's happiness is not dependent on you. It's not created by you, because just like we just talked about, your happiness is created by your thoughts. Their happiness is created by their thoughts. And you may have even experienced this. You may have even said to yourself, no matter what I do, I can't make them happy. And yes, truth. You can't make them happy because it's their thoughts that make them happy. Now, what does this mean? That we just say, well, your thoughts are your responsibility. And so but I'm not doing anything and it's not my problem. And you can deal with your own happiness and I have nothing to do with it. So I can do whatever I want and you can't be upset about it because it's not my fault because your happiness is up to you. No, that's not what we're saying here. When it comes to other people, no, we are not responsible for their feelings, for their thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, actions, choices. We are not responsible for them because we actually have no control over them. But we do have a responsibility when it comes to other people. We are responsible to them. We are responsible to be kind, considerate, compassionate, decent human beings. We are responsible for how we show up, for our own thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, choices. But we're not responsible for other people's. And as soon as we take on that responsibility, it shows up in a lot of self-abandonment, in self-neglect, in people-pleasing, because we're trying to control other people's. And I know that sounds harsh, but we are ultimately trying to control their feelings by doing things that we wouldn't normally do, by kind of just like finagling and morphing ourselves into this person doing these things to try to create something in them instead of letting them take responsibility for their own experience, for their own feelings, for their own lives. The next thing that you may have learned, this is a big one for a lot of us. This is the deeper work that we have been going into in the Shift Society with the people who are in there now, and this idea that your past defines you. And how often so many of us get stuck in the past. We get stuck in our own self-shaming. We get stuck in our own self-loathing. We get stuck in regret. We get stuck in blame of ourselves. And we think that my past defines you, that this is who I am. And there's nothing I can do about it. It's just my lot in life. It's just who I'm always going to be. And that's it. Case closed. I am broken. I am flawed. There is something fundamentally wrong with me. And you know what I'm going to say, my friend? That is just a lot of BS. Your past doesn't define you. Your past was experiences that you had, choices that you made from that current level of conscious awareness. All behavior is purposeful as human beings. We are either trying to move towards pleasure or away from pain. There is a point to what we are doing, and sometimes, based on our current level of conscious awareness, we don't make choices that are the best. We make mistakes. Sometimes we make really big mistakes. Sometimes we do really hurtful or harmful things. But that doesn't have to define us now, because do you know what defines you now? Your thoughts. You get to decide what you are going to think about yourself. And if you think that you are a failure, that you're not good enough, that you're this whatever type of bad person or person who always messes things up, who can't do anything right, who can't get it together, if you have these beliefs about yourself, if you have those thoughts about yourself, then those thoughts are going to drive you into actions that confirm those thoughts. It's just the way the human brain works, that we will continue to function in accordance with what we think. And so if you want to define who you are and how you are now, then you got to do the work to decide what you want to think about yourself now. And it's not just as simple as just like looking in the mirror and repeating your positive affirmations. No, we are more complex than that. But we can change how we think about ourselves by doing this deeper work, by investing ourselves into the process of changing what we want to define us. It's just our thoughts that define us. It's not the past, because the past does not exist. The only place that the past exists is in our thoughts. That's the only place the past exists. It's in our thoughts. So we get to decide what we're going to make that mean about us now, and we get to decide what we are going to do with that now. The next thing that you may have learned that is keeping you stuck is you need to be happy and positive all the time. And let me tell you, I went through a phase a few years ago where I thought this was it. Just be positive, just be grateful, just be happy, just count your blessings. And if you're not doing this, then you're being ungrateful. Then you're not being a good human being who is recognizing everything that she has in her life. I even said to myself, you have no reason to ever feel bad. You have no reason to ever complain. And then you'd think that that would be inspiring, but it actually made me feel terrible, because I am a human being. I sometimes have bad feelings, uncomfortable feelings. I mean, it's not even call them bad. They're just feelings. But I sometimes have difficult emotions. I sometimes struggle. And instead of shaming ourselves for being human beings who have the whole gamut of human feelings, how about we just allow ourselves to have them? How about we allow ourselves to process them, to be with them, and then to move through them, but not to judge ourselves for having them, not try to force ourselves out of being human with human feelings. You don't become a complete being by feeling half your feelings. The goal is not to be happy and positive all the time. And if you're not, it does not mean that you are failing as a human being. It means you are being a human being. And yes, absolutely, we can learn tools to not get stuck in that, to not be spiraling out in those struggles, in those uncomfortable emotions, to not keep ourselves stuck there. Absolutely. And this is what we learn in the shift society. This is the crux of what we learn in the shift society. But we don't have to be happy and positive all the time. We can have feelings. We can process feelings. We can move through feelings. We can be human. The next thing that you may have learned, going along with this similar one about always having to be happy and positive all the time, is that being uncomfortable is bad. The things we do to avoid being uncomfortable, because we don't know how to sit with uncomfortable feelings. We don't know how to process an emotion. We don't even know how to sometimes do things that we may not want to do, but are actually in our best interest, because it's uncomfortable. And we think about that. We think about even the things that we want in our lives, the goals that we have, the things that we want to be working towards and growing and doing. And then our brain will talk us out of it and be like, that's going to be kind of hard. That's going to be a little bit difficult. That might be uncomfortable. Let's not do that. Let's just sit here and binge watch Netflix or like scroll social media for hours. And I'm not saying that watching television or even being on social media are bad. Absolutely not. But you know the difference between having a moment, taking a break, and numbing and avoiding because you don't want to have to do something that might not be as easy. And like we talked about, again, you come by this honestly because your brain is designed, again, to move you towards pleasure and away from pain. And that primitive part of your brain is always going to try and choose the thing that's going to be easiest and most pleasurable, but the thing that's right in front of you. But often that thing is counterproductive to what you want to be building, what you want to be growing. If that's writing a book, if that is taking on a new project, if that is getting better at a skill, if that is taking care of your health, if that is applying to go back to school, if that is starting courses to further your education and training, if that's building a business, if that's about working towards a promotion, that these are things that you want. But then you talk yourself out of it because you're like, oh, it's going to be too hard. Oh, it might not be super comfortable. Oh, I might run into some roadblocks. And I'm going to tell you personally, for me, I'm currently writing a book. And I'm going to also tell you that it's the hardest thing that I have ever done. And a lot of days, it is the last thing that my brain wants to do. I could sit and talk and speak and teach until the cows come home all day, all night. I can even on Instagram, I'll put up a post and I'll write just like a little caption, like a short, punchy, powerful caption to go along with that. And I can do that. And that's no problem. But a book is a whole other beast. For those of you who have ever written a book or attempted to write a book, you know what I'm talking about. And then for someone like me who doesn't really love writing as much as she loves talking, it's even more so. I don't love taking on big long-term projects. I never have. I remember being in sewing class in grade 8. And I really wanted to sew because I really wanted to design and create my own clothes and kind of have things that were different and original. And in my head, it sounded really great. And so I'd get the pattern, I'd choose the fabric, I'd get it all set up and laid out, and I'd start like spreading out the fabric and pinning on the pattern and meticulously cutting and making sure everything was perfect. And then I'd pin it all together and get it under the sewing machine. I'd start sewing, making sure that the lines were straight and the margins were great and everything was going well. And I'd get about 1/8 of the way into the project, into the actual sewing. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is taking too long. This is frustrating and annoying and I just want faster results. So then I just like zoom the whole rest of the way through on like full speed, just kind of finagling it all together. And I'd, pull up the jacket or the pair of pants or the shirt that I had sewed at the end of it all. And I'd hold it up and it'd be all kind of disjointed and uneven. One arm would be this wide, one arm would be this wide. I don't like long-term projects, but I'm writing this book. And so getting past myself, getting past my brain resisting it, sitting down, taking it one chunk at a time, one section at a time, and saying, hey, guess what? You committed to this. It's okay if you're feeling uncomfortable. This is something that you want, and this is something that you committed to. So this is something that you are going to do. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to do it when you don't want to do it. It's okay. And I'm talking about here, I'm not saying about rejecting ourselves or neglecting ourselves or like mistreating ourselves. I'm saying those times when your brain is resisting something that you want because you're telling yourself it's going to be difficult or uncomfortable. And then you're letting your brain kind of talk you out of it and be like, yeah, we'll get to it later. We'll get to it tomorrow. I actually heard a quote recently that I thought was incredible, just speaking to this idea that how often we tell ourselves, like, I'll get to that tomorrow. And the quote said, how dare you put off till tomorrow when you have been given the gift of today? And then the next one, that those of you who are my perfectionists, this is something that I'm guessing is keeping you really stuck. Probably one of the biggest things that is keeping you the most stuck is this idea that you have to have certainty in order to proceed. Before you can do something, you need to know exactly how it's going to turn out. You need to be guaranteed a positive outcome. And so you sit on the sidelines in indecision, trying to get something that isn't even possible. There's no such thing as full certainty. Sometimes, yeah, we can have a little bit more of a general idea of how something is going to go, but it's never fully guaranteed. Sometimes we just have to leap. Sometimes we just have to decide, I'm going to make this decision and I'm going to go for it. And I'm just going to see what happens. And I'm also going to trust that no matter what happens, I will figure it out. This is something that happened a couple years ago. I was in a group coaching program. And there was an opportunity to kind of take the work that I was doing to the next level. And I talked to my husband about it and I was like, hey, like I'm doing this coaching work and then there's this offer. Of course it was, it was a lot more money and it was a more intensive process. And I asked him and I was like, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? And my very logical, rational engineering husband's brain said, well, what are the guaranteed outcomes? And I was like, there aren't any. There's a plan and there's a process and there's a structure to the work that we're doing in this program, but there's no guaranteed outcome. He's like, okay, so then why do you want to do it? And I was like, because it feels right. Even though there is this little bit of hesitation because I don't know, right, exactly how it's going to go. My brain wants that certainty, but I was like, you know what? I think that I'm not going to lose out by doing this. It might not give me these, particular outcomes that I want to have, and it might maybe not happen as fast as I want it to happen or the exact way that I want it to happen, but I'm going to do it. Because I'm not going to let that perfectionist brain that needs to know everything all the time stop me from having experiences in life, stop me from trying things, stop me from putting myself out there. And so I did. And this one actually ended up being incredible, and it was amazing, and it was more than what I was expecting. But there also have been times where I've done things where I've just gone for it, where I haven't known exactly how it was going to turn out, exactly what was going to happen, and it hasn't been great. And that's okay too. Because then you learn. So, thinking about the things, the beliefs and ideas that are keeping you stuck. Any more that you want to add to the list? Do you have particular beliefs that you know are keeping you stuck, but you don't know how to get rid of them? You don't know what to do with them? Let me know in the comment section below, and then come and join us in the Shift Society, because this is the work we are doing there. We are learning about what's been keeping us stuck, unlearning those thoughts and beliefs, those deeply ingrained ones. We are unlearning them, and then we are relearning the ones that are going to be healthy, helpful, serving, productive, the ones we want to be having. Even if you're not entirely certain of this process, even if you're not entirely certain of exactly what it's going to look like, come and join us. If you have that feeling where you're like, I have a feeling that this is going to be good, that this is going to be life-changing, but I don't know exactly what it looks like or exactly what the outcomes are going to be, trust that feeling. It's there for a reason. Come and join us. The link is in the description below. And let me know what connected with you from this talk. Would love to hear. Until next time, take good care.